Holy crap, what is that? I have never seen this before. I'm going to talk about something incredible that happened, or some bit of news that dropped. But first, let's look at the markets, right? What can you see? All of these circles look relatively medium-sized. But if you look at the numbers, 33%, 14%, 20%, 31%, 50%, pumps all over the place. That's obviously because we're recovering from the liquidation event of a century, or of all time, when it comes to crypto in a way. So some of these comebacks are going to be massive. Now, just last week, any one of these circles you're looking at now, any one of these greens, this is intraday by the way, would be huge, because a 20% pump was significant because the market was boring, nothing was happening. So relatively to each other, a 20% or 33% bubble like this one would be absolutely dominating this page. But now everyone is pumping pretty significantly. Even XRP here, look, with a little 10% pump, get in. And it goes to show you guys that, for me anyway, the dumps are a lot more exciting than the pumps. The actual real money is made during the dumps and not necessarily during the pumps. Because think about this for a minute. If the price of a coin dumps 10%, it has to do a 20% pump to get back to where it was before. So that it's kind of a free 20% pump. Whereas it's more difficult for the pump to go 20% from the previous price. So, it's easier for, say, Bitcoin to dump from 100,000 down to 90,000 and then back up to 100,000 than for it to go to 120,000, if you catch my drift. So the pumps are infinitely more exciting, or at least twice more exciting. Some people say 4 times more exciting, because if the ultimate price was 120, but it first dipped to 90 for you to buy at 90, your gains would be from 90 to 120, which is significantly more than 20%. So yeah, totally excited whenever I see the giant pumps. Obviously, it's not nice if you've lost money due to leveraging and liquidations, but if you're a DCA aficionado like myself, it's an incredible time. And especially if you've been around for a while and you realize that when these things do happen, I'm not talking about the little pumps that we get and little dumps. I'm talking about the big liquidation events and the manipulation ones, as everyone's starting to talk about. There's a lot of information coming out now and a little bit of evidence here and there that people are presenting that this was in fact a calculated, coordinated shakedown of the crypto industry. Everything was getting too green. Everything was getting too hopeful. The longs were getting too extreme. The pumps are too imminent. People are going to make too much money. So they had to shake you guys out a little bit, because we're in for an insane pump when all this stuff dies down. When these tariff things get worked out, government gets back into action, SEC approves ETFs, and we're back to the races. Now, talking of which, right, the actual market is starting to recover. Look, it's now at 3.94 trillion in terms of market cap. So if you think about it, there hasn't actually been that much of an actual price dump. It's just the coordinated, calculated way that they've done it. Bitcoin is only down 8%. And, this 115,000 price that is at the moment was a dream price just a few months ago. This is unfathomable even at some point in the past. So it's just because we've been to the 120s that now this seems bad. Also, because of the way that the exchanges were locked down or whatever. Some would say, they were locked down. Some would say they were, experiencing technical issues, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, as an unprecedented thing has happened concerning that. Then the market actually didn't do that badly. It's just the amount of money that was in the market at the time and the amount of leveraged longs, man, insane 100x's, 125x's. They were absolutely wiped out. Even like 50x's and stuff were wiped out for most people. Some people survived for the 2x's and 5x's if it had lots of collateral. XRP making its jolly way back. It's pumped 10% in the last 24 hours. As you can see from the graph there, it's more than half back to where it was. And that's just within a couple of days. Now, by the end of this week, we're going to, in my opinion, would have put this right behind us. And this whole would have gone green again. And people have forgotten, unless you've lost, all of your savings, what have you. Ethereum did really well. Back big time. In fact, it's almost completely wiped out the dip that happened, right? If you calculate it from around here-ish, which is where the dip actually happened. So Ethereum look, it's in the 4,000s already. It's almost as if nothing happened to Ethereum. And when it comes to Bitcoin, we're only, a couple of ETF inflows away from it going back to all-time highs and price discovery. So this is crypto, guys. And this has been one of the worst dips in this bull run. But if you put that in perspective, actually, this stuff used to happen all the time. Like every couple of weeks, it'd be like a big 24% dump, 30% dump across the board. It used to happen every couple of weeks. And we used to get at least one a month back in the day. So this happening once in a while, and a lot of institutional money being in play right now makes it a little bit different. Every time this happens now, we're going to be hitting record liquidations. And that institutional money has been involved and someone's got hurt when you see a headline like this one. Binance to compensate users following massive $19 billion crypto liquidation event. So first of all, Binance is accepting that there's been technical errors or technical difficulties that have prevented people from logging in and taking action, either maybe putting in stop losses, removing stop losses, canceling longs, putting in more collateral, just taking evasive action to try and stop themselves from losing all their money. Because of course you can put more collateral behind your longs to prevent them from being liquidated. If you've got a margin call and you couldn't log in to do anything about it, then that's kind of like an enforced shakeout with, security at the door, stopping you from getting into your house to get your money or whatever. So Binance is looking at compensating people. And we never used to see this back in the day. I mean, like if not your keys, not your crypto, you couldn't log in, you lost your money. It is what it is, man. It is. Look, something is different this time. We have big players that can pick up the phone and call CEOs and say, look, I couldn't get in. I'm willing to bet that was triggered by a big shot that lost a lot of money. Someone lost, millions, and someone influential. Who knows? Maybe one of the Trumps, maybe, or somebody in government that has political power who could have, pulled the strings. I've never seen this happen where, an exchange would compensate for technical difficulty in getting into your blah, 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 blah. We used to get these all the time. People used to lose money, and it was just is what it is. So I wonder what that level of compensation is going to be. But the fact that there's a compensation at all, I think kind of shows you where we are now with crypto. There's a lot of institutional involvement, a lot of old school manipulation from Wall Street type people, a lot of political types that have a lot of say. Perhaps this person wasn't privy to the aforementioned manipulation. Like you can imagine, okay, this is all speculation, of course, not legal financial advice in any way, shape or form. But I can picture a scenario where, the memo goes around, say, right, we're going to do this. There's this bad news. Trump is going to announce this. Then we're going to do this. We're going to do that, blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to use this bad news to liquidate everybody. And then, we give them a week to lick their wounds. And then we're back to the races, take out your longs, la, la, la. And this one influential person was, I don't know, in the Bahamas, sipping on some sangria or whatever they all drink there. Spanish speakers are laughing at the moment. Anyway, so they're sipping on something and they didn't get the memo. They go back to their machine. Ooh, I've lost $16 billion, whatever. And then they pick up the phone. They're like, blah, 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 blah. But obviously they can't just compensate him. They've got to, compensate everybody to make it look fair. Who knows, man? Happy times ahead, man. It's going to be an interesting week of really massive greens. We're still red. Holy crap. What is that? Wow. I missed all of this. Somebody's done a 10x. That's insane. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.